Buon dia. My name is Christopher Brown and I am the Director International at University College Cork in Ireland. I have been asked to reflect upon the current situation and how it is influencing internationalisation in higher education. Let me gaze into my crystal ball. One of the particular challenges of this pandemic is that it is changing at different rates in different communities. Everyone is on a different timeline. Much has been written on what might happen and how COVID-19 is going to change everything. I'm not quite so certain. Some things will change, but pre-existing advantages will be strengthened, and centuries-long traditions at universities will not be overturned easily. In broad terms, from the perspective of UCC, there is no doubt that we have learned some important lessons already, and that this situation will surely have a lasting influence on the future of internationalisation. I've got 5 main points to address very briefly. The first one, online learning. While UCC and most other major universities around the world shifted swiftly to online-only provision in the spring of 2020, review of the effectiveness and sustainability of pure digital as a replacement for face-to-face teaching and learning has only just begun. We managed to achieve what had been inching along in fits and starts for many years. But by the same token, there is a growing consensus that online learning is not equivalent to face-to-face. Perhaps the key is in graduate attributes, or learning outcomes, or a range of other phrases that denote the competencies and skills increased and measured by particular programs or institutions. These will become more and more important as frameworks to guide the development of curricula. At UCC, we have a robust program in graduate attributes, and I encourage you to visit our webpage and have a look at the graduate attributes section. Only when there are clear, comparable outcomes that can be measured can we begin to assess the relative effectiveness of online versus face-to-face teaching and learning. 2. Mobility. Short-term mobility has always played second fiddle to recruitment into full degrees. Yet such mobility now is curtailed. Universities are beginning to realize how much they valued the opportunities for students and staff to change environments, to live and learn abroad for a shorter duration. Many may have taken Erasmus programs for granted, but now that they are disrupted, temporarily we hope, we are all remembering how valuable they were. My hope is that this might breathe new life into the mobility aspect of internationalisation in higher education. 3. Transdisciplinary research. For the 30 years that I've been part of universities, cross-disciplinary research has been an important aspect. Yet output and truly transdisciplinary work has been spotty and often clustered around familiar disciplinary groupings. This pandemic requires research from both life sciences and social sciences, bodies and their behaviours. It requires work from commercial and political dimensions. It is both within the continuum of history and at the limits of theory. It is both biological and psychological, and it requires big data to work with nanotechnology. We are in a global situation that requires the full breadth of the university's intellectual resources to understand and resolve. As we are doing at UCC, broad research clusters are forming that will bring together scholars from widely disparate fields to focus on this particular topic. Institutions that do this well will be positioned for the highest impact and will be able to offer the best advice to governments, businesses, and communities on how to recover. 4. Pace. The speed at which we live our lives has been irrevocably disrupted. The days may drag on in lockdown as we work and family lives collide, but decisions are being made with astounding speed. Endless Zoom meetings may be less formal and focused than traditional meetings, but individuals are working together in spite of being unimaginably remote from each other. It is my hope that we do not return to the status quo when this settles down. we have learned that we can do better. 5. Cultural competencies. In a small, tightly knit country like Ireland, it's easy to see how communities have come together to support each other. But equally, nations and cultures have come together in new and promising ways as well. When UCC sent a consignment of protective masks to our partner institutions in China in February, it was a gesture of solidarity. Now that the EU is the epicenter of the virus, our Chinese partners have reciprocated in kind. This in turn is spurring a new round of collaboration and coordination as we find ourselves facing shared, familiar challenges. In order to advance such cooperation, there will need to be increased demand for cross-cultural competencies. I know of no greater way to develop these skills than through internationalization, both at home and abroad. Lastly, big goals. UCC has committed to paying particular attention to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, alongside many leading universities around the world. It is my view that this pandemic is an opportunity for nations, communities, and organizations to renew their commitments to these ambitious and worthy goals. The world has been forced into an unprecedented set of changes that prove that we can act on a large scale. Just as water quality and air qualities are allegedly improving in many locations, so too can we make real progress on a range of development goals, if we remain focused and committed. Universities have a unique role to play. As institutions that shape the minds and amplify the voices of researchers, we must be persuasive and persistent in our words and in our actions. In some, although there is very real pain and suffering and damage from this pandemic, there must also be hope. If we can all practice the resilience and the empathy that we try to instill in our students, we may just be able to make a difference. I was very sorry that the FAUBAI conference was postponed this year. It ranks among the highlights of my year. To my many friends, colleagues, partners and prospects in Brazil and across Latin America, I wish you all health, luck and perseverance. Obrigado.